Hey yo, hit that like button. What's good, Frankie Diamonds TV? Join that notification gang. So a federal judge sided with Monique in her Netflix discrimination lawsuit. She made this lawsuit, I think, about 2 years ago, and she was running around going on a fuck Netflix tour, and there were people looking at her crazy. And she was basically like, "Hey, they lowballed me," and she's like, "I got this resume, I got this Oscar, I've been in the business 25, 30 years. Based off my resume, I deserve more." And people were like, "Oh, you're tripping, you're bugging." And one of her biggest critics was Charlemagne. And the one thing I will agree with Charlemagne, you said you should just go independent and do your own thing on YouTube or whatever. Which, yeah, I agree with that. She should have, she could have, but she was trying to prove a point. And Hollywood, Black Hollywood, for some reason, since forever, has always settled for whatever they offered. They don't really do negotiations. It's only a handful of box office people like Will Smith, Denzel. Most of these people have to settle for. You ever look back and you be like, what happened to so and so? What happened to Cuba Gooding Jr.? What happened to Wesley Snipes? What happened to Mekhi Phifer? You know, guys get blackballed in Hollywood, black actors all the time, and a lot of times they get stuck doing the same stereotype roles. Like Nia Long just put out a movie on Netflix called Love Affair, and then we took like 9 other movies, and they're like, yo, they keep making the same stalker movies over and over. Why is that? And it's because they have to take what they can. They settle for certain roles, even though they want to do something different. I mean, how many times can you play somebody's nigga nanny or stalker husband or somebody's thug, somebody's, it's the same shit. So this is the example of like Hollywood black for black folks. But for black women, I mean, Wanda Skites did a Netflix special. I think she got like 200,000. I'm like, that's what? Now, for normal folks, you're like, oh, that's good. But for someone who's been in the business as long as Wanda Skites, that's lowball. And this is subjective. Comedy's subjective. This has nothing to do with context of comedy. I'm not saying Monique is one of the all-time greatest comedians. Some people, that's all they think about. Oh, it's just funniness. This business ain't about who's funny. It's really about everything but that. Do you check all of the boxes on the paper outside of that? You look at Tiffany Haddish. Is she more of a product of the machine or a product of the people? And I love Tiffany as a person. I'm glad for her, but she ain't. If you just Google, just search her name on Twitter if you got one and look at the comments. Look what people say. A lot of people ain't really feeling Tiffany Haddish. She's a product of the machine. She checks all of the boxes. She plays the politics in the games. She has everything that Hollywood wants right now. That's why she's the golden goose. She can do no wrong, even though the people see it differently. She bombed at that roast that they did for the NBA on TNT. People gave her hell for it. She had her stage moment last year where she bombed on stage, forgot her routine. It's Kevin Hart's another one. He was Cat Williams' replacement. You know, I mean, I get a lot of, I see a lot more mixed reviews about Kevin Hart's comedy than Cat Williams. There's just certain comedians. It's almost 8 out of 10 people that thought were hilarious. Eddie Murphy was like that. Cat Williams was like that. Bernie Mac, rest in peace, was like that. But with some of these today, like Amy Schumer's another one, big star, big time star. She steals a lot of her jokes. She doesn't have a lot of respect and by her peers, and she's one of the biggest comics out there. So it ain't really about context of comedy. Patrice O'Neal was one of the funniest. You didn't see him on everything. He didn't have a million movies because he didn't want to play the game. Now Monique played the game, I'm assuming, because at one point Monique was hot. She was doing her thing, and then once I guess she tapped into that level of consciousness, Monique started talking back, and they didn't like that, and they stopped giving her roles and shit. She went from winning an Oscar to doing like 2 or 3 black family, comedy movies over the last 10 years. No TV shows, no nothing. So her and Netflix were gonna do this deal. She didn't settle for the money that they offered her, so she made a big deal of it. And she said, "Yeah, I could easily do whatever," but she wanted to prove a point and be a martyr and stand up for what was right as far as the discrimination towards black people and black women, as far as not getting paid as much as uh, other folks do. So she went on and she took it to court. And they say the plaintiff has officially alleged Netflix's failure to negotiate. Netflix never really negotiated. They gave her that one offer and they never really said anything. Now Netflix wanted this case to get dropped, and the judge was like, "No, we're gonna keep this going," and the case is now proceeding. I think the judge doesn't want to look like that judge that's gonna in today's racially times, he doesn't want to be that judge that's gonna go against the black woman that's standing up for discrimination. So that could work in most favor also. But they say the plaintiff has sufficiently alleged that Netflix is failed to negotiate and increase her opening offer by straying from standard practice, employment actions that are reasonably likely to adverse bunch of shit, bunch of court shit. Excuse me. Oh God. But they go on to say that there is an adverse employment action if the defendant has taken action or engaged in course of a pattern of conduct that has taken a whole materially affected the terms, conditions, and privileges of employment, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, Netflix reached out to Monique to pitch her show. However, they felt like she wanted too much money. And they went on, and she wants to continue this on, and that's what's going to happen. So, they're pushing the case. It's not going to get dropped like Netflix. Netflix thought that they were going to just get rid of this. And this is the same Netflix that has a BLM, Black Lives Matter category on their stream. Like they just have a whole section for black movies. But at the same time, while they're doing that, they're involved with a lawsuit against a famous black female comedian. You know what I mean? So when you look down at these numbers, Amy Schumer got $2 million for her movie in 2017. Chris Rock got $40 million for two specials. Dave got 60. Now I don't know if Monique thinks she's worth 40 or 60 mil, but you know you know your value better than anybody. It's no different if you're looking for a job. If you're looking for a job and you got a certain amount of money annually or hourly that you want, and they're telling you something that you ain't trying to hear, I mean, it's up to you to take that. If a job's telling you they're only paying you $10 an hour, and you're looking for at least 20, I mean, what are you gonna do? You're gonna settle, or you're gonna? It's up to you. You know your worth better than anybody. So if Mo feels like she's worth 50 million, then hey, I can't knock her for feeling that way. You know what I mean? That's her prerogative. I applaud her for going against the machine and standing up for herself and not just following suit. Because like I said, I remember watching that Breakfast Club interview and seeing three black people in the industry looking at her as if she didn't know what the fuck she was talking about. They were looking at her like they didn't like they were stupid, like she was just bugging. I'm like, y'all know damn well she ain't lying. She ain't tell one lie about this business. Y'all are in the business knee deep. She's been in it longer than y'all, and y'all sitting here trying to act like y'all don't know what she's talking about as far as racism and discrimination. And Angela Yee was she barely said a word during that interview because she knew Mo was preaching. And then at the end of the interview, Monique basically called Charlemagne a coon, and he didn't know what to say. But yeah, of course he hasn't spoken out. But I mean, they might speak on this on Monday. Like I say, it's not over. It's just Netflix wanted the case to get dropped so they could just move on, and the case is going to proceed to continue. So Netflix, this is going to continue to be a pain in the ass for some time coming because it's not over yet. So hopefully Monique wins her case. And like I said, say what you want. She's not funny. You think she's funny. You think whatever. I'm just glad to see somebody standing up against the powers that be and taking a chance on themselves because that's what she did. Because like I say, yeah, she still could do a YouTube. Now I will say with everything that she's doing, she has to deliver and put out a crazy special to back up all of this shit that's been going on for the last couple of years. You gotta fucking give it up. You know what I mean? You got to. You gotta deliver. But it is what it is, man. Shout out to her. Hopefully her case goes in her favor.